We now come to the most powerful and often the most mocked concept in urban economics, the spatial equilibrium. The idea of the spatial equilibrium is easiest to understand using an example from the work of Sandra Black. In Massachusetts towns, there are things called attendance districts that determine whether your child goes to one or the other of the town's middle schools. Let's assume that there are two schools in this town, one good and one bad, and let's consider two identical homes which lie on the opposite side of an attendance district line. But otherwise, the homes are exactly the same. They're on the same street. They have the same neighbors. They are identical structures. They pay the same taxes. They have the same police. The only difference is that in one house, the kids go to a better middle school. What would you expect to be true about the two houses? The one that sends its kids to the better school should cost more. And Professor Black's work shows exactly that. Economists typically go further and say that the price gap should reflect the willingness of parents to pay for better schools. That's the spatial equilibrium concept in a nutshell. High amenities in one area, like better schools, are offset by higher prices. Let's go further and try to apply this logic to metropolitan regions as a whole. Imagine a world in which everyone is identical and we're all free to move across space. Different areas will have different wages, different housing prices, and different amenities. The spatial equilibrium concept then predicts that the bundle of wages and prices and amenities should make us more or less indifferent between different locations. This means that an area with high wages and high amenities, maybe coastal California, should have sky-high prices, which it does. Places with low amenities and low wages should have low prices. If prices are high, controlling for wages, then we can be pretty sure we're looking at a high amenity location. If wages are high, controlling for prices, then we are probably looking at a low amenity location. This logic has some pretty powerful consequences. In 1970, big cities paid high wages controlling for prices, or higher real wages, which just means wages controlling for prices. The spatial equilibrium concept then implies that amenities were low in those cities. By 2000, real wages were actually lower in big cities, especially New York, and the spatial equilibrium concept suggests that amenities had gotten a lot better. Paradoxically, the spatial equilibrium concept implies that as a region's government does a better job controlling its negative externalities, real wages will actually fall because prices will move more quickly than wages. Do the assumptions needed for the spatial equilibrium concept hold perfectly? Of course not. People aren't perfectly mobile, people aren't identical. But there are a lot of mobile Americans, and housing prices can move pretty quickly, even if the size of the city stays constant. More importantly, in study after study, the basic implications of the spatial equilibrium have done pretty well. Even if it doesn't hold perfectly, it is a powerful tool for understanding our urban world.